Hello and well met. This is Laren. Hello and well met. This is Laren. Hello and well met. This is Laren with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to be checking out some combat that is going to be simulated between NPCs. I often do this to check out my maps and to see how things kind of flow before I would run a campaign or a session. I don't always have time to do this, but when I do, try to make a little bit more effort into making these scenes more memorable. Quite often, combats kind of end up being a slog fest. You just kind of went back and forth comparing numbers, and eventually it just kind of becomes boring, especially when it's not your turn. So what I'd like to do is propose that you take a little extra time to spruce up your encounters, whether that be with additional artwork or perhaps audio, whatever it may be. It would help to make the scene a lot more interesting and get your players more immersed and involved. So I'm going to take I've got a map here that I've been working on since yesterday, and pardon my voice, it's just starting to come back. I got I had a really bad cold, probably the worst one I've had in a long time, but I'm feeling better now. So on the heels of our Founders Day celebration, is kind of poking at this idea, this concept to record a video and then put music to it. So I'm not playing the music now, but what I'm going to do is take this video and chop it up, cut my voice out of it, and then I might do a voiceover later, but I'm just going to use the footage from this to place the song over it. So that it kind of serves two purposes. I get to stream, share my process with you guys, showcase some stuff that you can do in Fantasy Grounds, and then also have footage so that if I need to record or go back and edit something, I got some kind of recording of it. So this map was pretty static when I first placed it in Fantasy Grounds. This map was a Meanders map, one of the Dwarven Hold things that if you got on the Meanders Kickstarter, this is one of the maps from the Dwarven Holds. But essentially, these were braziers, and this map didn't have anything on it. So what I had done is kind of make it a little bit more interesting. I added some more assets over here, and this is something you can do with maps that are already published or part of an adventure. So if you already have content and you want to make it a little bit nicer or a little bit less predictable, or perhaps you're kind of bored, this can kind of help with that. So I have the Fantasy Grounds art subscription, and I just added some things in here. So this map is flat. It's not an animated map, but I added some animated assets. So that really brings the map to life. And I don't know if it matters or not, but it might save or add more memory requirements to your session. So when you add all these little animations, all that stuff probably adds up in the long run. But in the interim, though, it looks pretty good. It looks better. Like this brazier here, I have like these flames coming off here, sparks and embers, and then every once in a while this flame will erupt from the brazier. So I thought that was a nice touch. And then I added the lighting onto these four obstacles. Yeah, they're basically obstacles. These are up in the air. So all I did for the line of sight here is I just added some shadow for the heads here, and then there's a couple structures that you can't get up on top of, and for the most part I left it open because I wanted more freedom of movement, but I didn't want people to move their tokens straight into this object here because it's actually elevated. So if they wanted to get up here, they have to talk to me and make a roll to climb up or whatever. So that's kind of why I left it wide open. I didn't want to put a line of sight on every little single detail on here. I don't think it was necessary. And this is basically a bridge. And if they leave the bridge, they could potentially fall off into the chasm. So if I take off the lighting here, you can see more of the map. So there's some spots here that could potentially be fall damage. And I don't even really know how far that goes. You can make it up. So I would tell players that, if they ask about it or if it comes up, I would say at least 50 feet, if not more. Probably like 100 feet down. And one of the things that you want to do as a game master potentially is to create a hazard if that comes up. Because what if you throw someone off this balcony here? I mean, that's pretty feasible. It's not like, what if you step on, or what if you stand on your left leg and spin around and sing Yankee Doodle? It's not that. It's not that niche. It's actually a thing. So if somebody were to, you know, push them off the edge or something, then you don't really, you're kind of stuck. You don't really have anything to go on in regards to like a stat block or some way to apply the damage without manually having to do it. So just looking at that, I would create an NPC stat block and pin it on the map somewhere to make it a little bit easier for you if that comes up. So it's kind of a contingency, but it's also a part of the scene, right? It's a hazard. If they fall off this thing, you know, that you need something to go on that will help you. Same thing with these braziers. What if somebody knocks one over or they fall inside one of these or whatever? So we need to have some kind of hazard for those too if you want. So you can kind of get into a lot of details, a lot of minutia that may or may not, you know, add to the experience, but the convenience of having those ready to go is you know, really, really handy. So I'm going to grab, I'm going to use ChatGPT to make the stat blocks. That's what I've been doing a lot of. If you guys haven't watched my shows, I've just done a whole bunch of basically done a whole bunch of shows about creating NPCs with fantasy grounds and, you know, that sort of thing. So I'm going to bring over my my screen here that I was working on, and basically the stuff that I'm going to be going over later is going to be related to the 5e combat tracker. That's the rule set I'm using now. But as far as like this map stuff and, you know, kind of like how you perceive things and how you set things up would apply to most, you know, at least fantasy rule sets. But the actual mechanics and the gameplay may vary depending on what rule set you're using. But basically what I'm going to do here is take and I'm going to add this NPC, but I'm going to make it a hazard. So I'm going to ask it, so create... And mind you, already have this trained, so the session I'm in, it already kind of knows the formatting, and that's really the most important part here. If I go back up, you'll be able to see some of the information that I have, and it kind of goes into these stat blocks, and this is what the format is. So I'm going to say create a DnD5e NPC stat block. And once I say that, it kind of triggers its memory, it kind of knows what I'm referring to. I'll say for a fall hazard that is 100 feet. So that's how far they'll fall. But I'm going to give them an option to make a dexterity save. So I'm going to say, and a dexterity check feature to, I'll say to grab something on the way down. So they get one last chance at a DC 18. So athletics or whatever it is. So this could be athletics, acrobatics, dexterity check, whatever, you know, whatever makes sense. Normally I would have them do 2 checks. So one would be to hold their weight, and then the other would be to grab onto the edge. So what I will do is say grab on something way down, and I'll say that is going to be acrobatics and or dexterity checks, and then the other would be, this will be the second check. Second check is for holding, so it's just your initial drop. Like when you drop, you grab onto the edge and you kind of have that initial, basically your inertia. This would help if you can hold on. So if one thing you can grab on, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're holding your weight, because you might just grab on for a second, slip, and come right off. So we'll say strength check of, I'll say this is 16. It's either a strength check or athletics. So you got 2 checks to make. So if you fall out, get thrown off the edge, or you fall off the edge, I'm giving the players benefit of the doubt to do like a heroic save. It's not an easy save. I mean, this is pretty tough, but it gives them that opportunity, the chance to be kind of heroic, you know, and give them some opportunity. Because I think just throwing them off a cliff and rolling damage sucks. So, I mean, it depends on the situation, I guess. I mean, they might be too far from anything to grab, but in most cases, it probably won't be too far. Okay, so what we'll do is create a complete NPC stat block for a fall hazard. Let's see if it does it right. Nah, that's not what I wanted. This is okay, I'll say now create the DnD5e NPC stat block. All stats are 10. We'll see if it knows what I'm doing. Yeah, see, this is right. Kinda. It kind of needs a medium hazard, armor class 10, hit points. Yeah, okay. Environmental hazard. Why is it doing that? Okay, well, we'll see what it looks like if it parses. I don't like the way it's formatted, but we'll see. So I'll copy this information, and then I'll go into Fantasy Grounds and see if it parses correctly. So it's supposed to make this simpler, but a lot of times it doesn't interpret these type of things properly. So let me grab the NPCs, and we'll go into this import tool. We'll go ahead and paste this data in here. Right click, clean up. Let's see. So hopefully it parses correctly. So it's environmental hazard. So we're going to put traits above that just in case. We can't have that. So we'll just say challenge CR1, I guess. We'll see. We'll see if it parses. But what I think I'm going to have to redo this because I don't think it's going to work. It's already okay. So that's correct. Yeah. See, this is type hazard unaligned. We'll say. This doesn't really have an armor class. Speed 0. We don't need to put anything weird in there. Hit point 0. Okay. All conditions. All. Yep. So the challenge rating, there isn't any for that. Yeah. See, it didn't parse the traits. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like the wording is not right. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board here. And I'm going to say reformat to match the previous NPCs in our earlier conversation. To kind of have some context. Reformat. Yeah, it kind of doesn't do these kind of things very well. Let's see if it's gonna. Yeah, see, it's not. It's the way it's formatted is not gonna. Try one more time here. And if it doesn't work, I'll just have to make do. But normally I have this stuff already. I don't even have to sweat it too much. I mean, it looks like it's kind of doing it right, but we'll see. And part of it is I have the description in here too. So let me see if I can clean that up. So let's go back to Fantasy Grounds, and in here I'm going to place the text, and then I'm going to clean that up. Let's see what we got here. See this stuff here, I don't want that. So it's going to be called Fall Hazard. Languages, challenge rating. We'll just get rid of that. Because sometimes this stuff will throw it off. Okay, saving throws. Yeah, see, this is not what I want. So I want traits, and then we want environmental hazard with a period after it, and then for the description, this goes over on the other side. So it has to do with the way that this is written. It's not quite what I had in mind. So we'll see. And then all these feature things have to have a period after it. Otherwise, it's not going to... We'll see if that helps or not. All right, let's see what it does. Yeah. Look, I don't know where it got that from, but yeah, that's not even close. Not even close. Help me create this. I thought I got rid of all that. Oh man, I got a double thing here. What the hell? Okay, let me try that again. That was crazy. Help me create it. That's the name of it. Alright, let's go back and see what we did wrong here. Okay, so I probably grabbed way too much stuff, yeah. So go back up here. See, this isn't supposed to last this long. So if it doesn't work on this round, I'll just give it up, because I'm going to be filming this and I can cut a lot of the stuff out, so I'm not too worried about it. But for you guys, it's kind of boring sitting here watching me fumble around with this stuff. But you know, this is really what you're going to be dealing with when you make your own content sometimes. You know, your own little problems and stuff will eventually bite you, or at least annoy you. So this is something that, you know, I want you guys to see, because this is the real deal. You know, this is what you got to go through. Environmental hazard, period. And then back up here, and this is going to be traits. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Because some of this stuff will throw it off. Because if it's got some weird formatting, it's not going to work. All right, we'll see if that does anything. Yeah, so that's a lot better. So we don't need that word stationary in there. We already know it. Hazard, alignment, unaligned. It's not really a creature, right? We're just using the stat block as a way to see if it parsed any of this stuff. Yeah. So there we go. That's what I wanted. Exactly like that. All right, so this is the fall hazard, right? So when you have something like this, you want to... this is the old one. You want to have something to grab and to drop on your player. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this record over to the map. So that way, if this happens in the event of an adventure, we can just pop it up. There's a stat block. And as always, I usually put it over here. So when it comes up, it's not covering the map up. No, I don't like that. That can get very annoying quickly. There we go. So that's that. So that's one hazard. Then if you want to, you can make one for the bracer. So let's see. Let's do the same thing. Create another hazard for a large brazier using the same format as above for an NPC stat block. for a D&D. Okay, let's see what it comes up with here. Sometimes it'll do well, and other times it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to fix that. But other than that, it looks like it'll be okay. Alright, so do that. So I'm going to have to change this around a little bit because it's kind of goofy, but it'll work. So take that information, go back into Fantasy Grounds, go back to the import tool. And then what I'm going to do is take these tactics here and, let's see, description. All right, so there we go. And then I want to get that out of here. You don't want that on here. Okay, so these things here, whenever you have actions or effects or whatever, that's gonna impact this. So let's see. Environmental hazard. Let's period after it. We said we need this needs to say traits. Yeah, if you don't have that in there, it's not going to work right. You got to have some kind of identifiers in there, or it's just going to put it wherever. It's not going to parse correctly. All right, so this is the trigger, environmental hazard. Put that in there. And like I said, the challenge rating doesn't need to go there. All right, so that looks about right. Okay, let's see what happens. Hazard. Immune to fire. Trigger, saving throw. Yep, there we go. And then the effect for the radius of the light. Yep, so what I would do with that is the same thing. Bring it up here, and I would take and stretch this out, get it to the right spot, lock it up, and then just drag and drop it next to the brazier. And then whenever you need that sort of stat block to add on to your players as you're playing, it's convenient to you. You don't have to go digging around looking for it or making it up. So that's that. So I've already made the encounters. So I have two encounters here. One is a good guys, one's a bad guys. So this is a dwarven kind of mix. Well, there's a drow and a deep gnome, but the rest of them are dwarven clerics from this hold. They live here in this building. So the scenario is that these goblins are kind of pranking them, and they are getting revenge, and they're being put up to this. This is obviously not their idea, but they are involved. So they captured a troll, and they brought it up here. I don't know how they got up there without being noticed, but maybe it was teleported here or something. But there's a gate or a cage right here, and inside is this really big and horrific troll. So there's goblins that are hiding here in the shadows. And what they're doing is they're basically coming up to the front door where the dwarves are and leaving that there and then hiding out. And then the dwarves come out and they see that and they're like, what the hell is this? So if they get close enough, the goblins will attack and this cage will actually, be unlocked. So it'll start the battle. So I've just kind of placed everything where I want them to go in regards to the sequence and the battle, and then I have these shortcuts to the encounter so I can bring them up easier. So if I wanted to add this to the combat tracker, I just click on add to tracker, and they're already placed in the map, so I don't have to worry about where they're at or what. So that's basically that's where these guys are going to be starting. And then I have the goblins already to go too. So same thing. Just add to tracker. All these are hostile. So we have a cage troll. We have 4 goblins. We have 2 archers and a goblin boss. So I'm going to add that to the tracker as well. And these guys are not readily apparent. They're not, you can't see them, but they're basically up here and down here. They're basically hiding from the dwarves. And then if I actually come into the map and go to player view, this is kind of more what the players would see in regards to how the map looks. So I'm going to actually right click. You can go to view, and you can zoom to fill or zoom to fit to kind of recenter the map, or you can use this drop down and use this zoom to fit thing here. And that will recenter the map as well. So these are just kind of the layout here. I'm going to make the goblins visible since I'm kind of just running this as a simulation. So the main thing though is, you have this group of NPCs that are ready to face off. And this is where you want to be before you start the encounter. So this isn't really a combat lesson. It's more or less the setup, the prep, and all the different things it took to get here. So I made all the NPCs minus some of the goblins and stuff. I just used the SRD. And in the library here, what I have loaded here is not a whole lot. I've got the SRD and a couple of map packs. That's it. You don't have to have and own every single book out there known to man. If you kind of already have like the core book or something to work with, and you know how to use the tools and kind of get familiar with the platform, you can build your own stuff. I wouldn't, to be honest with you, make everything from scratch. You don't even have to build out the whole rule set if you don't want to. But just remember that when it comes time to level up, or if you want to change something and you don't have it, you're going to have to make it. So that's the thing about doing homebrew, is it is a lot more fun and rewarding, but it's a lot more work, and it takes a lot more effort to get things done. So it's kind of up to you, like how much time and effort you want to put into it, but it's also your familiarity with the platform and the tools that are needed to make the content. So that's the reality of it. But if you don't even want to do all that stuff, just buy a module and run that. Buy one of the starter kits. There's the D&D Essentials. There's the Stormwreck Isle. There's the original Lost Mine of Fendelver, and there's the Stranger Things box set. Those are the starter sets. Those usually come with enough to play, and enough to get your mind wrapped around how Fantasy Grounds is, I think. Give yourself some time, because that's really where where the effort comes in, is where you actually put time into it. And I think that's where most people have problems with. And then, of course, knowing all the little nuances, the weaknesses, the strengths, what you can do, what you can't do, all those sort of things. It just takes time. But these are the little tokens, and I actually painstakingly went through and added these little bases to them. So the bases are most of them are semi-transparent. So when you move them, you can still kind of see underneath. It's not totally canceling out the bottom effect, but you can still kind of see the tokens, because without that base, it's really hard to see. Especially against a gray map and you have gray armor, it's really hard to see it. So that's why I put these bases on there. So if you have top-down tokens and you want to use those, the base is probably going to, make your life a little easier if you have one of those. And then I'm going to actually turn on this navigator button here. Let's take a look at the goblins. So the other thing is you got this other view that you could be using. So if you want to use a camera view, you have this, and you can look at the map this way. It's not as nice as if you have, see, these tokens here don't really have they kind of look kind of good at that. Let's take a look. The angle that these are at are not too bad. There's some that just look straight down that don't look that good. Yeah, that's okay. That's not bad. This kind of reminds me of the you know, the little standee tokens. That's not too bad. They look decent. They're not like a pog. You know, those look like they don't look so great. I mean, they're okay. They'll work, but these are the ones with the full body. So I didn't want to go through all the full body thing. I might though for another video, but these look okay. There's the troll. There's the goblins. There's the boss. Yep. Now I'm going to switch back to the kind of the more, I guess you could call it. Oh, here's the first-person view. So if you're the dwarf, you know, you can use this to move around like a video game kind of first-person view. All right, so let's get out of that view. There we go. So there's the top-down view. So that's basically that. In case you're aware, you do have an echo going on. Okay, thank you. Let me see if I can get that off. Sorry about that. Let's see. Properties. System monitor off. What the heck's going on here? So the device is that. I gotta check the settings for desktop audio. It's probably that. Let me turn that off. Did that help at all? Are you taking away the desktop audio? I think it was refeeding back into that. Sometimes these things get, yeah, it's on default device. Huh. I don't know if that helped or not, but. Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's no echo, right? No echo. Yeah, I didn't want that on there. No way. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that. It's hard to tell. I have no way to monitor it, you know. So thank you for speaking up. That's great. Awesome. Rely on you guys for that. But anyways, I hope this helps you a little bit. Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted you guys to see some of the stuff that goes into preparing for, you know, when you're making a homebrew or you're actually trying to make your game look a lot better. There's some work involved with it, and it kind of depends on what you have your access to and also what type of experience you're trying to provide for your players. So some people just want a black and white map with some pogs. You know, there's no problem with that. But in this case, you know, using a virtual tabletop, I kind of want to utilize some of the capabilities of it. And I went to the extra mile to make the hazards for these braziers because I wanted to be able to drag and drop the saving throw and the dex, or the dex saving throw and the damage. So that's, you know, one thing that I think is important to have this kind of stuff ready to go in the wings. Because it sucks if you're in the middle of gameplay and you go, oh, well, I just got to roll some dice and add it to your character sheet. It just ends up, you know, it just ends up being a problem. Same thing with the fall damage. If they fall, they get a chance to save, and they get another chance to hold their weight. And then if they grab hold, they make the strength check. And if they don't manage to do that, then it's 35 or 10d6 bludgeoning damage. Ouch. So if anyone falls off the edge, that's what's going to happen to them. And that's nice to have that ready to go, so you're not having to, you know, wing it all the time. And honestly, I would have this kind of thing as a module if you don't already have something like it. There's some out there that are already made for Fantasy Grounds on the DM's Guild, I believe. And there's a couple out there floating around where people have made these. Essentially, they're traps and hazards. And it's handy to have those because they're usually in stat block form. And it makes it so much easier because now all I got to do is just, you know, I can read the notes and just ask them to make this check. Or if it's saving throw, I can automatically drag and drop it. That forces the saving throw. And then I roll the damage and it will tell me if they saved or, you know, if they get half damage or not. So anyways, that's that. I'm going to wrap it up. But I wanted to just kind of show you that process, and I'll go back and make sure my settings are right this time. I don't know. Well, something happened in my settings, and I ended up playing around with them, and that's probably why it happened. But anyways, folks, you guys have a good one, and happy gaming. And if you haven't already checked out The Smiteworks announced that they're going to be supporting the Torchlight role-playing game. If you guys haven't seen that, they made an announcement today. Looks interesting. I did a little research on it. Looks like a fun game, but what I'm starting to notice is there's going to be so many choices that it's going to be scattering There's already doing it. I mean, you got so many things that have spun off the D&D calamity there that it's just great to have variety, but what you're going to have here is a mixed bag of individuals that all play different rule sets that aren't really specifically a master of any. And it's not a bad thing to spread the love and to give support to all the other platforms, but I don't see the community being united at all in this regard. And it's going to be like little cliques of people that play certain games, and then that's it, you know. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but we'll see. But hopefully I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong about that, because that's something I would definitely not like to see. And I'm not saying that, you know, they shouldn't make other rule sets, because obviously you get kind of burned out on this D&D stuff. But I think it kind of sucks that we're going to end up with just like 5 or 6 different rule sets, and there's going to be hardly anyone around to play them.